for being here. I was sitting at my desk on Friday, as my tradition has become, watching football after Thanksgiving. And I was sitting there and kind of thinking, because this is the time of the year when we do that, when we think about the things that we're thankful for. And I watched football so much that I had gotten up about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and I looked up and it was 6 o'clock. And one of the other things I like to do every day is watch the news. And I realized I had missed the news, the 5:30 news. And so I just went out on the internet and turned the computer on. And the 3 headlines that I saw were about 3 people that had died. One of them was a deputy in Alabama. He had been shot trying to serve a warrant or talking to someone. The other one was the death of Larry Hagman, the person that played JR in Dallas. And the other one was the death of Hector Macho Camacho, the boxer. And when I was reading their obituaries, nowhere in their obituaries did it say, even though I think they owned the house, it didn't talk about how many houses they owned. Right. It didn't say they had an iPad. It didn't talk about how many cars they had, or electronic devices, or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, all it talked about was the character of these individuals. And what struck me was, I thought about when we had Passover for lunch or for Thanksgiving dinner, when we was taking her back home, we drove by Best Buy. And we saw all the tents camped out in front of Best Buy. And all the people that wanted to be the first in line to get these electronic devices. And I thought about how twisted we have our priorities. If we're going to camp out in tents and try to get something, we ought to be camped out in front of a church somewhere. And I thought about how apropos it is that we're studying the fruits of the Spirit, because so many times we try to provide things for people that money can buy, that man's money can buy, when the things that we really need to get are free. When the things we really need to focus on are free. When the things that are going to help us not to make a permanent decision in a temporary situation are free. And so when I got to sitting around thinking about the things that I was thankful for this year, and not just this time of the year, because I always ask God, after a while you realize that Thanksgiving and Christmas is not the only time to wish for things during the year. And it's not the only time to be thankful for things during the year. That's right. It's not the only time to sit back and think, well, what do I need to work on? So I've gotten to the point where I'm just asking God all the time what I need to work on. That's right. Because I know there are things inside of me until we reach, and we will never reach perfection until we go back to glory with Him, but until we reach that point where He is working on us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're not really operating where He wants us to operate. So it's so apropos that we were studying the fruits of the Spirit, just the little things: joy, yes, kindness, peace, long-suffering. Yes. Because these are things that money can't buy. And at this time of the year, I also think about my family. I have one brother who is 6 years, he's 52. He's 6 years older than me. He's been in prison probably since he was 18. He's probably been out of prison less than a year total. And I have another young brother who's younger than me, who's 30, in the same situation. He's probably been out of prison less than a year since he was 18. Wow. And the older brother and I grew up in the same household. The younger brother, I'm adopted, so he grew up in a different household. But I get to thinking, where are these guys at? I know they're, obviously being taken care of by the state somewhere, and I know what states they're in. But we can't always just reach out and call them the way we want to. And I think about them, and we go out every Thursday to the prison here, and we work with the guys on giving speeches and stuff. And it's amazing because if they were to get Christmas gifts, it would never be the things we would think of. It would never be they want an iPad, or they want this, or all they want is a phone call from their mother. My God. All they want to do is hear the voice of their children. And so when I got to thinking this year about what we were going to do in these holidays, and we have our little traditions set up and those kind of things, but we decided this year not to do anything. We didn't put up any Christmas lights. And it's funny because we didn't put up lights, and y'all know we live in a circle, a cul-de-sac. And this is the first year that nobody in that circle put up lights. Every day after Thanksgiving, every Friday after Thanksgiving, we all would be out in our yards putting up Christmas lights. Now it's funny because we never speak to each other the whole year, and we don't even speak to each other then. But we'll all be out in our yard putting up Christmas lights on the Friday after Thanksgiving. But nobody did it this year. If you drove down our street yesterday or today or tomorrow, it is completely dark, which is amazing.
Wow.
Because, and I don't know if it's because we all decided this year it just wasn't going to be the commercial thing, or if everybody just wasn't feeling it or what. But this year we just didn't do it. And so as I thought about the things that I was thankful for, it's the things that money cannot buy. And it's not that there are things that money can't buy. It's just that I've learned to be satisfied with where I'm at. You know, it has nothing to do with, certainly if you were to buy me something or give me something, that would be great, but I've not gotten caught up in those kind of things. And so I think about those two brothers, and then I think about the other. We have two other members in our family who are in a week from now, they will both be homeless. Completely. I don't mean, living in a car. I don't mean going to a shelter. I mean getting kicked out of apartments with nowhere else to go because nobody else is willing to take them because we've all taken them. And they just don't work living with us.
Right.
And I think about these people, and I think about what kind of gift could we give them? Because supplying them with a physical place to stay or a car or any of the material stuff, that's not the solution. And as I look at them and their lives, I start thinking, what is it about our lives that we can change, that we could do differently, that we could be the example for? And the more I study Joyce Meyer's book that we're using for the fruits of the Spirit, the more I'm learning that regardless of all the material things that we have, if you're not operating out of that area, out of love,
that's it.
Out of peace, out of long-suffering, out of joy, because we can give people stuff and not even love them. I could give a lot of stuff away, and I wouldn't even miss it. So it's not even about the gifts, and it's not about showing up with this or that and giving it to you, because you can do that and not even love a person. I guarantee because I've done that. Even before I was married, with the people I was dating, you could do that. You could give people stuff and not love them. So it's not that kind of stuff, the material stuff. It was what can I learn this year that not only, the one thing I read when I was younger that stuck with me was that I should get an education, almost kind of like what Derek said, but the reason I got one was because they say once something gets in your head, people can never take it out. They can take a whole lot of stuff from you,
wow,
but they can't take your education from you. You can fail and fail and fail, but as long as God gets you up tomorrow morning to try again, you can do again whatever it is you failed at. You can try it again, you can retrieve it again, you can achieve it again. And so as I applied it in the natural life, I started thinking, why can't I apply it in the spiritual life? Because you can never lose that. If I get all the fruits of the Spirit operating in me, how much more would I be available to people? How much more would I be able to help someone?
Yes.
How much more could I teach a man to fish instead of giving a man to fish?
That's good.
And so the things I'm thankful for this year are those things. It's not anything that you can put a price on. It's not anything that money can buy. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm content. Doesn't mean I have everything I want, but I'm content with where I'm at. We drove through neighborhoods last night looking for Christmas lights because we didn't have any in our neighborhood. And there are some great neighborhoods out there with a lot of lights, but as you look inside those large houses and you see those people, you wonder how happy they are.
That's right.
And if you look inside, and as I drove back to our house, I wondered the same thing. If you look inside our house, how happy are we? Because is it about the lights and the gifts and all the stuff that makes people go wow on the outside, or is it about what's on the inside?
That's good.
And is it about improving that? If I don't have a house next year, and I don't have lights next year, and I don't have a car next year, will I still be content with where I'm at?
That's good.
And so what I was praying for this year and going forward is for God to get me content where I'm at, to keep me content. To not let the little things, the material things, the lack of material things upset me. To not let what's going on in other people's lives as they infiltrate or impress themselves on your life, let that upset the joy in your life. Because going forward, all you have to take care of at the end is yourself. Sure, you have a family, you have everything, but when you go before God, God's going to hold you accountable for what you did. Not anybody else. And so what I started working on, it's funny how it took me this long in my life to get there, but as I start working and asking God what I need to do, how I need to celebrate, how I need to demonstrate Him more, that's what I'm looking at. And so that's what I'm thankful for. Because, I was placing my bets on K-State to win the national championship, and they didn't deliver. You know, there's so many things you can place on the outside that you think you're going to count on. Things are just going to continue as normal. They're just going to keep on running. This or this or this is going to happen. And it's not. The only thing you can count on is God. And so that's a trite example because it's sports and it's a small thing. But when you really extrapolate it into the big things of life, you start realizing that there is nothing else that you should be placing your faith in except for God. And once you get that down, everything else falls into place. And so that's what I'm thankful for this year, and that's what I'm learning, is just the continued opportunity that God gives me to get better and grow in His graces and strength. And y'all continue praying for me and us as a family, that we'll continue doing that. If you don't see it in us, pray that you will someday. But if you do, just pray that God continues to bless us. Because I believe, you know, rising water raises all ships. As one person improves, we all improve. And I pray for everybody in here, and even the ones that aren't here, that God will continue to bless. Because what makes one person stronger makes us all stronger. And I appreciate everyone in here, even the ones I don't talk to. Because even that sends a message. Sometimes you're so okay that you don't need somebody to run up to you and bless you and lay hands on you and do all that stuff. It's just the example that you live. So keep being that example. Keep being that person. And for those of you who are still struggling with these, continue to pray. Continue to ask God to bless you, because we're a family. Outside of your family at home, this is the family that we have. And I thank God for all of you. And ask you to continue praying for us as we pray for you. Amen.